Welcome back to the Adaptive Athlete Podcast, the place for conversations about adaptive athletes in the CrossFit space and beyond. I'm your host, Matt Hotho. This week on the Adaptive Athlete Podcast, we're doing something a little different. In the off-season, we will feature a series of special episodes, and today we're kicking it off with a conversation with Kym Dekeyrel. Kym is completely blind, and she's the force behind Fighting the Light, a fundraising workout supporting Fighting Blindness, an organization dedicated to advocating for research, treatment, and testing for people living with vision impairments and blindness. In our conversation, Kym shares how this event came to life, what it means for her personally, and how you can be a part of it, whether you're an athlete, a coach, or simply someone who wants to make a difference. Stick around until the end of the episode for details about how to register and for a special giveaway opportunity for adaptive athletes, made possible through a partnership between Fighting the Light and Equip Products. Welcome back to another episode of the Adaptive Athlete Podcast. I'm here today with Kym. Kym, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. We are a month out from the 2025 CrossFit Games. Have you gotten back into the gym and started hitting that intensity again?
Oh, yes. I mean, I got back and I was so excited about the experience. It was really a great experience this year. Yeah. I mean, not that other years have not been, but this one was just special. And I came back and was like, well, the open is a coming, right?
Yes.
And we're instantly back in. And I did hit it hard, like for the first couple of weeks. And now actually in this past week, I'm like, whoa, I think I'm still tired. No.
Yes, that is very much a thing. I'm sort of thankful that this was my last year. And so I kind of finished and was able to just ease back into the, working out in the gym, figuring out what I want to do. I might still do the open, but not with the intensity of like going to the games kind of vibe.
I don't know. See if we can talk you into another year.
No. Because I've got plans for the games next year, but it won't be as a competitor. So,
cool.
So we'll be seeing what happens with that. Which I know we were talking before we started recording about how at the 24 games, your organization Fighting the Light had a booth at the 24 games. So, can you tell me a little bit about your organization Fighting the Light?
Well, Fighting the Light was It started with just like the spark of an idea 4 years ago. And, I remember it like it was yesterday. I got a phone call from a CrossFit film producer asking if they could share my story about my vision loss journey, my CrossFit journey, my family, all of the things. And I got off that call and I just remember sitting and crying on my couch thinking, I never thought anything good would come out from being blind, and having these people tell me that they wanted to share my story so that other people living with vision loss could feel hope and courage and strength was it was just so overwhelming in a good way to me. And so then, yes, a film crew came out and it was like living like a Kardashian for a couple days of having these people following us around. It was really fun. And
probably a little weird too.
It was a little weird, but really, and we then of course so through that, we became friends with these producers and the film crew. And when it came to the release of the documentary, the producers also then came up with this idea of how about we partner this with a signature CrossFit workout. And we thought, okay, we'll see what happens. We got CrossFit's approval, and we did this in a sense outside of the company of CrossFit, but with their support.
Yeah.
So that was incredible that they were wanting to support us in this. And we thought, okay, we'll make a signature workout. We'll get that approved. We will call it Fighting the Light, and we'll release it on October 1st for Blindness Awareness Month. And we'll just, throw spaghetti at walls and see what sticks. And we released it, and in a week, the whole thing went CrossFit viral.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the year, it was listed as one of CrossFit's, top community events. And we were like, whoa. So then second year comes around, we get, a few amazing sponsors like Yeti and Bubs Naturals, who are just the best. And same idea. We kind of thought, all right, the first year worked. We'll see what happens. And then again, it was like magic, and more and more and more and more gyms reached out to us saying that they were programming the workout. Actually, Mayhem, they programmed our workout. CrossFit continued to support us. And so each year we go in with like not little expectation, but we're just so grateful for the outpouring of support and the continuous growth. And so, yes, last year for the 2024 games, Foundation Fighting Blindness, they sponsored us to then have a Finding the Light booth at the Adaptive CrossFit Games in San Antonio. And it was so great. We had Adrian Bosman coming over and doing the workout blindfolded, and just all sorts of athletes and kids and old people. I mean, everybody. And
so what is the workout?
Oh, okay. The workout is 3 rounds, 4 time of 20 dumbbell thrusters, double dumbbell thrusters, 20 double unders, 20 burpee box jumps, and 20 pull-ups. And when we first released the workout, it was simply that. And through the years, it has evolved into, and it's now pretty much standard, that we like to treat it as a partner workout, where one partner will work with their eyes closed or blindfolded if they really dare. And the other person acts as their guide. And then each round they switch. And so it becomes a game of trust as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like a trust fall workout in some ways, where and I think it builds not empathy, but understanding about what guides are and how guides function to help visually impaired and blind athletes compete. Yes.
So it is just grown into a community movement that I feel like, I keep saying it, we thought we were hoping for a spark, and now it is just a blaze that keeps on growing.
And so we're here on the Adaptive Athlete podcast to sort of talk about this workout, not only because you're an adaptive athlete, and I want to get to your story in a minute about what it's like to live as a totally blind person and what that journey has been like for you, but also because this is an adaptive workout that adaptive athletes can also do and participate in.
Yes. And so this year we are very excited and calling all adaptive athletes. Equip Products, our wonderful friends and biggest CrossFit supporters, they are sponsoring an adaptive team in all of our adaptive posts this year. So I am very much encouraging adaptive athletes to go to our landing page and sign up on the Equip Products adaptive team. So when you go to our website, it will ask join as an individual or join a team. And you just click on join a team. You scroll down to like page number 2. Equip Products is at the top of page number 2, I believe. And it's just going to ask you for your email, some little information. If you would like to donate, we are encouraging people to donate like $10, and then you will be on the Equip Products team. And at the end of the month or early in November, Equip Products is going to pick, randomly, one adaptive athlete to win a personalized prize pack from Equip products. And we did it that way so that, somebody that is a single arm athlete or an upper limb impaired athlete isn't getting a prize pack with a lap mat in it. The
Right.
person, whoever wins, is going to get something specially made for them. And we're really grateful, obviously, for our friends at Equip products.
Well, and you were telling me that we've already had some adaptive athletes sign up and be a part of the team.
Yeah. So we have, Tim Murray, he's done the Finding the Light workout, and Lauren Farhad and Emily Avery. And last year, Amy Bream was brave enough to come over to our booth and take on the workout. So we're just really encouraging. And no, like I've said to a few adaptive athletes, you do not have to be blindfolded. One impairment is enough. Just do the workout how you would adapt, and actually tell, write to me and tell me what adaptations were made per your division, so I can share that on social media as well.
And I saw Jedediah Snelson made a seated version of it, which is super cool.
Yep, the GOAT, Jed, he did it. So so we're just trying to really encourage adaptive athletes and have those adaptive athletes give feedback of what modifications or what adaptations are made for their division, so we can, promote it to other adaptive athletes.
I love that. And so if you're an adaptive athlete listening to this podcast, in the show notes for this podcast, we'll have a link to where you can sign up to join the Equip products team and donate towards Finding the Light. We'll also try and do something fun with a QR code. I've read now that you can screenshot QR codes and then hold down on them, and they apparently turn into links. So magic abounds in our world. And so maybe we'll do something with that on our Instagram page. It is all
magic to me. It is magic.
It is all crazy. So that's a way then for our listeners to participate in this really amazing fundraiser that is not only something you started 4 years ago, but it's also starting to grow, because I was searching more about your story and I found this thing called Spreading the Light, and how your story is already starting to take off for another generation of kids who need what you didn't have when you were a kid.
Yes. And that's where, that's what gets me all teary emotional, is it was just a different time. And, we talked about how social media can be used for good and it can be used for evil. But growing up, I didn't have an Instagram or TikTok. I was the only visually impaired person I knew. And it was a lonely world inside of my heart as a kid. I always felt so alone and so different. And with this ever knowing fate that someday I would be totally blind. And I had no ability to search on Instagram, like, badass blind person crushing life, and being able to find somebody to look up to. And so how even Finding the Light began was for that purpose, to give hope to others. And then last year, and I am very much encouraging people to go on to the CrossFit YouTube and search Spreading the Light to hear about Jake's story, this beautiful little tiny girl who is also losing her vision. But when we were in San Antonio prior to the 2024 games, I had the opportunity to speak at an event, and this mother asked me afterwards for advice on raising a daughter who is losing her vision. And it was just so touching to me, because gosh, like, to have it just really touched my heart. And then I went back to Texas when I spoke at the Fittest Experience, and I got to meet Jake and hang out with little Jake and have fun with little Jake. And so now CrossFit put together, a mini film about Jake's journey and about her family and my family's connection. And so, and now it's not even just it's not even just Jake. This year, I have two boys, both teenagers, and they both play ice hockey. And we decided to run Finding the Light through their hockey club this year. And so I'm really excited that's happening this week, where 120 hockey players are going to be doing Finding the Light. And same idea, we're going to encourage them to do it as partners and close their eyes and get a feel for it, and, learn some empathy, learn some faith in each other. But when I first put it out there, I received an email from one of the parents, who then told me about her friend who has two twin boys, teenagers, who are both going blind from Stargardt's disease. And now that has led to the YMCA putting on a Finding the Light event in honor of those two boys. And how cool is that? That now all of these kids, this next generation of kids, are going to have this event that's going to celebrate their life, their journey, their world, and not be told you can't do this because you can't see well. They're going to be told, heck yeah, go for it. And they're going to feel good that people support them.
Right. I was going to say, not only that, they're going to see their friends come around them and do this workout, this event for them, because their friends care about them, right? And it's a way for their friends to show that. Sometimes it's hard to put into words. Sometimes it's hard to put into words sometimes. Like, I think for other people to express empathy or sympathy towards adaptive athletes, because they don't know what it's like sometimes. But when they are willing and able to just work out with us and show us, that they care through that means a lot.
And it is so empowering in not, like, daily life for me even is really hard. And obviously for anybody with disabilities, anybody, life is hard. And so when we get these little moments that then we are celebrated, or we can come together and do something that is hard as a community that shows support and strength, it makes those challenges that we deal with on a daily basis just a little bit easier. I have so many times where crappy things happen, ignorance happens, and at least then, where prior to CrossFit and prior to finding this strength, it would crush me. And it still does. Hard things still crush my soul. But at least now I can kind of go inside and say, listen, lady, you have no idea what I'm capable of doing.
Yeah.
Like, you're able, it's like a Clark Kent Superman thing, where we have this, like, I'll put on my CrossFit, strength, and it just helps you get through the day a little bit easier.
Yeah. So there's two things there that I want to circle back on and touch on. So, I think you listed 3 or 4 people who, from your story, have reached out to you or have found that their kids have a place now to go, someone to look up to, someone to talk to. I think for adaptive athletes, there is a place for us, if we feel so comfortable, to do that work on our own platforms, on our own social media platforms. Kym, I don't know what your journey has been like, kind of creating Kym Possible, kind of curating your own social media feed, not creating it as if you're a character, but more so just, creating your social media feed so that when someone is looking for a badass person who does CrossFit blind, they find you and they know your story, right? I think Roderick Lopez, Memes for Time, has been really helping adaptive athletes think more about that. What does it mean to put yourself out there so that when someone finds you, they now can find your story?
The thing is about my story is I didn't have a story. I didn't set out. None of this has been a goal. Nothing. I never set out for anything. It was my husband that really, I went totally blind and life was sucky. I didn't even realize how sucky it was. It really took my husband seeing that I was lost And he was the one that, and if you watch the Blindness and Invisible Disability on the CrossFit YouTube channel, they did a really good job at capturing my full story. But my husband brought me into a CrossFit gym. I didn't think I could do anything. And I started being able to. And my Instagram, I just started an Instagram.
Yeah.
And Kym Possible just happened to be the name we kind of chose. It wasn't because I felt like I was Kym Possible. I was not Kym Possible back then. I was Kym trying to figure out how to live.
Sure.
And
that was already taken.
Yeah. Kym, who doesn't want to get out of bed or walk out the front door, was already taken. And so it just started organically growing. And Instagram did slowly become like a journal to me, a place where I could start writing down my feelings and not having to express them to people in person, because that was still really scary to me. I would never tell people I couldn't see. That was too terrifying of words. I couldn't say blind, but on social media I could, because I was just typing. And then I started noticing people responding, and that makes you feel good about yourself when a stranger says, "Wow, you are amazing. Good job at doing burpees." And so then I just kept going to CrossFit, and then I decided I wanted to try doing a competition. And from there, it just kept organically growing. None of this has ever been a goal. It's just been such an organic thing that now and that goes back to actually in our second year of Finding the Light, because this moment I will never forget. My husband and I went to a CrossFit gym and I spoke, and then it was a woman came up to us, and she was talking about her friend who had been in an accident, and he was an athlete, and then he had to learn to walk again and do everything all over again. And that she dragged him to the event, brought him to the event to come listen to me talk. And so we were talking, and all of a sudden this man, who was the man, stood up and he was crying, and he started quoting one of my Instagram posts. And that was when my husband and I, and the man said, and he was speaking actually more to my husband than to me, which I thought was great, because then he could speak to a man that could also understand. And he was saying, my friend brought me here and I was very stubborn. And now listening, I feel like I'm going to try. I'm going to try. And that's when we realized that Finding the Light now has nothing. I mean, it does have to do with vision loss, and we are raising money for Foundation Fighting Blindness, but it's for everybody, anybody that is finding their way out of their darkness and bringing hope to anybody that needs a light, and being the hand that reaches out to help somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Kym, as we kind of wrap up, and I want to at some point have a more traditional kind of adaptive athlete podcast interview with you, where we actually go into like your training and all that kind of stuff. But right now, since we're focusing on Finding the Light and the fundraiser, as we kind of wrap up, I want to share with you a quote that you shared in that CrossFit video. And it was something that you said that just kind of seems like a mindset. And I would ask you to reflect on that as we kind of wrap up. And that's, "I live in the darkness and it's so easy to give into it, but I'm choosing to live in the light." And I think that connects with this gentleman's story that you just shared, but also this thread that runs throughout everything that we've talked about today.
Yeah. I talk about when I was growing up, I've been technically, because I never knew these words. I knew I was visually impaired, but I didn't know I was blind since birth, technically blind. And I was very good at being a visually impaired person, a legally blind person, But there was such a huge, huge psychological difference between being able to see something and not being able to see anything. And knowing that I will never see anything ever again. I mean, and so it's not just every day, it's multiple times a day that I'm faced with this realization that I can't see anything. And it is a choice every hour, every day that I make, that we all can make, to choose to live in the light, because it is so easy to give into darkness. It is so easy to say, I can't. It is so easy to just put yourself in a corner and hide from possibility. But we can, but we have to choose it. And we have to choose to ask for help. And we have to choose to just put one foot in front of the other. And that has been my journey, is learning to emotionally, mentally find the strength every day to make that choice to live in the light.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kym. That's beautiful. And I think that mindset is coming to fruition in what you're doing through Finding the Light, and what you're doing through these connections that you're making with kids and families who need a sense of light, and hope. And I love that you're spreading that through our community. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being, a part of it and being a part of growing it.
Of course. So yeah, if anybody wants to be a part of Finding the Light, you can go to the show notes or check out the QR code that's going to be on the podcast Instagram page. Kym, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us for this episode. If you'd like to join Finding the Light and support the work of Fighting Blindness, it's easy. Just use the QR code on our Instagram page to register and get involved, or click the link in the show notes. You can also follow Kym on Instagram at Kym Possible, that's Kym Possible, XOXO, to stay up to date on her training, advocacy, and everything she's doing to bring light to the adaptive community. Thanks for listening to the Adaptive Athlete Podcast. We'll be back in November with some additional guests and some bonus episodes. See you then.